Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Now we've got to look at the questions of constitutional background on some of this stuff, since this has now come up this season. You notice the Republicans, the reactionaries, and their Tea Party dupes who have now been almost completely absorbed into the Republican machine. Any effort of differentiation is basically gone. They are pushing an array of social issues compounded of pure demagogy. They are wedge issues. They are a way to keep the economic issues off the table. Is there a world economic depression? Who should pay for that world economic depression? Why is Wall Street immune to taxation in addition to all of the bailouts and TARPs and $24 trillion lines of credit they've gotten from the federal government? This is now pushed away. Why is there a 75-to-1 income disparity between the top 1% and the bottom 20%? The worst that we've ever had it. The worst since 1928, 1929. And we've seen this on display. Ironically, the Democrats have been giving us this. We saw this monstrous wedding of Chelsea Clinton to a Goldman Sachs guy whose father was a convict, and George Soros was the evil genius of the entire ceremony. And now we've got the parvenue, Madame Obama, going to Marbella, Spain, to cavort on the beach with her kid at taxpayer expense. Monstrous excess, even as these same elites, including Hillary and Bill, of course, the people who tried to destroy Social Security in 1998 and were stopped by Monica Lewinsky, 1997-98, and now they're getting ready for the lame duck session. We better be getting ready too, because they want to take away your Social Security pension. They want to take away your Medicare. They want to strip you and flay you and leave nothing but your eyes to cry with. But in the middle of all this, as we see the social issues being successfully pushed by the mass media, right? What have we got? We've got the life and death issue of should there be a mosque near 9/11 in New York. Well, I guess we can say I would recommend build the mosque. Maybe don't build it there. Right? Think of what John Paul II said to the nuns at Auschwitz. Right? You can have it, but you don't need to have it precisely on one spot. Right? If you move it 2 or 3 blocks away, everything's going to be fine. I hear the accents of foundation-funded provocateurs on the various sides of this issue. You've also then got the Arizona law, which is a piece of demagogy thought up by the Republican demagogue in order to secure her own reelection. The short answer on immigration is that immigration belongs to a whole series of social issues which are insoluble by any formal legal means unless you have economic development. You've got to have expanding employment, new jobs, rising standards of living. In short, you need an economic recovery. Within an economic recovery, some compromise solution of this can be found. Without an economic recovery, the question of immigration, like just about every other social issue, cannot be solved. There is no solution for most social problems unless you have an economic recovery. And that means you've got to break the power of Wall Street, because it is, of course, Wall Street's interest and their media and their Republican Party and their Tea Party dupes and their Democratic Foundation-funded characters on the other side. They want to have the American people at each other's throats. So you don't march together against Wall Street. They'd love to see these battles going on. And then we've got gay marriage. And I would have to say on that one, well, the 14th Amendment has this thing about the equal protection of the laws. And ultimately, whatever you think about it, whether you like it or don't like it, that would seem to apply, and that probably means that issue should also be disposed of. Notice all the anxiety, all the fear, all the hatred, all the sense of loss, the mortification growing out of the collapse of living standards, the heavy losses to retirement accounts, the depression, in other words. All of that emotional and psychic energy is being channeled by clever, demonic demagogues on both sides into these issues: gay marriage, immigration, and secession. We've got secession and interposition, too, coming out of it. let's look at that. On Limbaugh this week, we had when the day that this gay marriage thing came through, he had a woman saying, "Well, now that we've got some kind of gay marriage allowed or possibly allowed at some point in California, we've got to have secession and civil war over gay marriage." Well, this lady doesn't have any idea what a civil war actually means. Go back and read some stuff. A civil war is the absolute worst outcome of anything. Just about anything is better than a civil war. It should be avoided. Concerning gay marriage, again, I think it's probably important to encourage family formation. We're told that marriage has always been one man and a woman. You better read the Bible. Marriage, and not just in the Bible, but elsewhere in the Old Testament, it's one man and several women. That was the point that John Milton, the poet, made. Very dubious guy in terms of politics, right? He said, well, we have to have polygamy, don't we? The whole question of polygamy comes out of the Old Testament because polygamy is the rule. So obviously, this is just a debater's point. But in order to have a solution on that one, you're also going to have a somewhat calmer social atmosphere, and only economic recovery can bring it. However, when you get people talking secession and interposition, we've got to make a couple of points here. The Tea Party and their Limbaugh and Glenn Beck demagogues, I would have to say in passing, Glenn Beck is getting to be more and more like Dr. Goebbels every day. Dr. Goebbels and Alfred Rosenberg, chief ideologist of the Nazi Party, would do this stuff called Geschichtskletscherei, which was to make up some simulacrum of, different pieces of historical fact or supposition or hallucination to justify what they're doing. Glenn Beck and his blackboard is certainly an example of this. There's no intellectual merit in 99% of what these characters say, and especially their clear desire to deflect the obvious question, which is the role of Wall Street in the Depression. We have a depression. It's not normal times. And we need to think about the role of Wall Street in it. The problem that these people have, or the thing that they desire to have, is that the constitutional debate that they want to have is a pre-New Deal constitutional debate. In other words, the New Deal and the modern state that we have, the institutions you see around you, are still more or less those of the New Deal. They've been attrited, they've been watered down, they've been gutted to some extent. But the institutional context you're operating in is still the modern state coming out of the New Deal of Franklin D. Roosevelt, 1933 to 1968, completed then as best it was done by LBJ. But the Tea Party is actually a pre-Civil War constitutional debate. The constitutional issues that are being raised by the Tea Party are essentially the ones that were answered in 1865. They were answered at Appomattox. The arguments in those questions were delivered by Grant, by Sherman, by Sheridan, by Thomas. Don't forget Thomas, who destroyed Bragg on the battlefield at Nashville. He was the Rock of Chickamauga, and deserves also to be on the list. Grant, Sherman, Sheridan, and Thomas answered these questions of secession and interposition, so that by Appomattox, there is no doubt that nationalism and national interest trump states' rights. That's just a fact. You want to reopen that issue today? That is absolutely insane. So you're going back not just to a pre-New Deal view, you're going back, that's why they love this, the aesthetics of the American Revolution with the fife and drum corps, but no blue kepis of the Civil War. We'll be back in a minute.